What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Seatman, and coming up on today's show, we'll be talking about the J.J. McCarthy versus Carson Wentz debate. If Wentz goes 2-0 over the next 2 weeks, who should be QB1 for the Vikings Week 7 after the bye? I'll give you guys my full thoughts there. And also, Mike Tomlin was talking about the Vikings offense leading into this Week 4 matchup, so we'll share with you guys the quotes that the Steelers head coach gave. But speaking about that matchup, if you guys want the Vikings to move the 3-1 on the season and pick up their third victory, go down there, hit that thumbs up icon. Don't jinx us. Get the good vibes going. Head into this game in Dublin, Ireland. So if you guys could, hit that thumbs up icon if you want the Vikes to beat the Steelers. All right, so let's talk about this. And, I gave my thoughts on this whole debate about a week ago, but after this recent game and after just hearing a lot more people chime in, give their thoughts on what the Vikings should do if Carson Wentz goes 2-0 over the next 2 weeks, should they turn it back over to J.J. McCarthy? So let's debate, because a lot of fans are split on what the Vikings should do if Wentz wins the next 2 games, because there's a lot going into this, because we all know J.J. needs to develop, but also there's a lot of veterans on this football team, and this is a win-now roster, so it is a very interesting debate. But I want to start off here looking at the Vikings schedule. So let's just play the hypothetical. The Vikings win their next 2 games. They move the 4-1 on the season, and then they have that bye Week 6. And let's just play this hypothetical out that J.J. McCarthy is 100% fully healthy heading into that Week 7 matchup against the Eagles. So the Vikes would be 4-1, and you would have games against the Eagles, short week against the Chargers, in Detroit, at home against the Ravens, got the Bears, then you're in Green Bay and in Seattle. So there really is no gimme game left on the schedule after the bye. And my stance on it is, no matter what Wentz does over the next 2 weeks, this is J.J. McCarthy's job when he is fully healthy. Carson Wentz is a backup quarterback. And if you think the Vikings team is as good as they are, he should be able to win 2 games against 2 teams that you are better than, without everybody overreacting and be like, oh, Carson Wentz is the reason the Vikings are winning these football games. I think 45 quarterbacks could have won that game the Vikings won this past week. I might have had a good chance to win that game last week. If the Vikings offense didn't play last week, they would have won 14-10 because of the 2 touchdowns by Isaiah Rodgers. So I will stay in this camp. I truly believe this. Even if Wentz goes 2-0 and even if he throws for 600 yards, 6 touchdowns over the next 2 weeks, this is still J.J. McCarthy's job at the end of the day. But also, this is a tough decision. So, I don't think I'm completely, right on my stance. I think, whether you think they should go the Wentz, I don't even think that's a bad take. I just think this is a tough decision for the Vikings. Number one, how would the veterans feel? Like, how could you look at guys like Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen, Justin Jefferson would consider him a vet at this point? If you do go 3-0 with Wentz, it would be a tough sell to those guys to be like, hey, we're going to go back to the 22-year-old kid who the last time we saw him out there on Sunday Night Football, he really struggled. Really, 7 of his 8 quarters, he has struggled. So how would the veterans feel? That's a huge part of this whole discussion. And then also, J.J. McCarthy needs the game in-game reps. Like, I understand the value you can have from sitting on the sidelines, listening to play calls, getting those reps in practice, but we have also seen it with J.J., he needs these in-game reps because we saw him even week 1 against the Bears, really struggling throughout the first 3 quarters, but he kind of hit that groove. He flipped that switch a little bit, and that's also when with this debate is JJ has shown flashes. Like, it's not like JJ throughout his first 8 quarters, we didn't see anything on tape that you could really write home about and you can be encouraged heading into the rest of the season. He showed a lot of flashes. We saw this Vikings offense explode with him under center for 21 points and 3 touchdowns against the Bears. Like, we see that potential. But also, I will say this. I think Wentz raises the team's floor higher than JJ does because Wentz is 32 years old. He's a more proven commodity. He's a veteran in the league. He understands how to operate this system, and I think he raises the floor of this football team pretty significantly higher compared to J.J. McCarthy, because also with J.J., the floor could completely fall through, and he could just continue the struggle, and then this team could lose a lot of games with J.J. going through those learning curves. But also on the opposite side, I think J.J. raises this team's ceiling significantly, because we kind of know what this team would be with Carson Wentz. I think if he started the rest of the year, team would probably go 10-7, and you would lose in the playoffs. Now, is that valuable enough to just turn it over the Wentz and say you're the starter for the rest of the season? I disagree with that. I don't think it is, but let's just say JJ, ends up playing like a top 12 quarterback, which he has that potential even, this year, I truly believe it, he would get this team to another level compared to Wentz. And also, like, how good are the Vikings with Carson Wentz? I think that's a huge question we got to answer because, are they, like, if you believe they could go 12-5 and win a playoff game, then maybe that makes this debate a whole lot more interesting. But also, if you think their max potential, their ceiling with Wentz is 10-7, losing the first round, that's like best case scenario, then is it worth it riding it out with Wentz? So kind of gets me to this. I think it would be more valuable to go 7-10 with JJ McCarthy instead of going 10-7 with Carson Wentz. Number one reason, JJ needs these reps. And you also got to get an answer on McCarthy. Because if you bench him for the rest of the year and you turn it over to Wentz and we really don't have a good feel on who McCarthy is as a quarterback, that even is going to spark more debate next offseason what the Vikings should do. But if you roll JJ out there, he starts the rest of the season. After the bye, you will have an answer, at least some sort of an answer on who he is as a quarterback and really what his potential is in this league. So I will stand by it. I think it would be more valuable for the Vikings to go 7-10 with JJ compared to 10-7 with Wentz. And also, if you go back to JJ, I don't think you're going at 7-10, especially if you win these next 2 weeks. I think you would win more games than that. But still, point being, I think there's just more value for the overarching team success long term if you would go with JJ over Carson Wentz after the bye. But maybe you guys disagree with me. Let me know your thoughts down below. Give me an 11 for Carson Wentz or give me a 9 for JJ McCarthy. The Vikes go 2-1 or 2-0 over the next 2 games. Who should be the quarterback week 7 versus the Eagles? Let me know your thoughts down below. All right, coming up next, Mike Tomlin had some thoughts on the Vikings offense that we'll dive into here in just a second. But today's episode is brought to you guys by PrizePicks. Now, you and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks where it's good to be right. Now, download the PrizePicks app, plug in promo code CLNS, get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Our PrizePicks is super simple to play. All you got to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in big. PrizePicks is also the best way to get action on sports in more than 40-plus states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. And PrizePicks puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. They offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. So download the PrizePicks app today. Plug in that promo code CLNS, get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. But shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, let's talk about what Mike Tomlin had to say on the Vikings offense. It's always cool hearing, other all-time great head coaches and especially defensive-minded guys talk about the other side of the football and what he is seeing from this Vikings offense. So I want to share with you guys these quotes. And he started off talking about Carson Wentz. He said this: he's a grizzly veteran. Oftentimes, particularly when you have a young, inexperienced quarterback, there's some big-time benefits of playing with a vet backup. The veteran guy oftentimes does the intangible components of the job very well. They oftentimes are able to carry more schematic responsibilities and so forth at the line of scrimmage. So I don't necessarily view it as a negative thing for the Minnesota Vikings, at least in the short term, that Carson Wentz is playing for him. And I will say this, Mike Tomlin's not wrong. Even though I think they should turn it back over to JJ McCarthy for week 7, but for this week and next week, I also believe Carson Wentz gives the Vikings a better chance to win those football games. He's a veteran. He's played in a lot more games. He understands how to operate this offense. So I don't disagree with Mike Tomlin whatsoever for him saying he doesn't think it's a disadvantage that they're playing Wentz over McCarthy this week. But also Tomlin talked about Jordan Addison returning, saying this, saying Wentz certainly has a full repertoire of targets available to him. The return of Jordan Addison, I think, is significant. Certainly Jefferson is a man to be reckoned with. Good 50-50 ball guy, tough, good after catch as well. TJ at the tight end is a challenge. So Carson has a nice arsenal of people to throw the ball to. And, the Vikings have a chance this season if they really hit their max potential. And it's like you get J.J. McCarthy later on in the year playing at a top 12 level. You get that, much improved run game going. You got the weapons on the outside. This Vikings offense has a chance to be unguardable. Because if you're running too high to take away Jefferson and Addison, all right, we'll just run the ball with this improved offensive line and Jordan Mason. But then if you want to stop the run, are you going to leave Jefferson one-on-one? And then even if you're trying to stop the run and you're taking away Jefferson, are you going to leave Addison one-on-one? Like, the Vikings have a chance here when it is all clicking offensively to almost have an unsolvable problem, which is such a great spot to be as a fan, especially watching that side of the football. And then on top of it, you got Kevin O'Connell calling the shots. And you got a favorable matchup this week going against the Steelers defense, who has really struggled this year. Giving up almost 400 yards per game, which is 29th. They're giving up 25.7 points per game, which is 23rd. Can't stop the run, can't stop the pass, can't get off the field on third down. So this Vikings offense is a great opportunity. And I think mainly number 18 has a great opportunity. You know, we talk about Jordan Addison being back and just how big it is for the offense as a whole, but it is mainly big for Justin Jefferson because this dude has been getting ridiculous coverages so far this season. And it's so funny. We think Jefferson, this is by far the worst start he has had to a season in his NFL career. Like, by far. The least amount of catches, least amount of yards, least amount of touchdowns by a wide margin. But still, these numbers for any other receiver, I mean, they would take it. Like, Jefferson, the last 2 games going over 70-plus receiving yards, and we're acting like this guy's been a total no-show. I think that speaks to the standard he has set for himself, but I fully expect Jefferson to have more than 5 catches this week. I expect him to have more than 81 yards, and I think he'll probably find the end zone this upcoming weekend. And also, can we get a deep shot to number 18? Like, they have only really been having Jefferson run these, deep crosses, the deep in-breaking routes. We haven't seen him get on a deep post or get on a streak route yet this season. So, I chose this photo of him having that 97-yarder versus the Niners. Hopefully, we can maybe replicate that play. Just let Carson Wentz uncork when the number 18. But with Addison back in the lineup, should be getting easier coverages, easier looks. And, when number 3 is there, it just makes 18 so much better. But what are you taking for this one? Over under 19.5 points for the Vikings offense versus the Steelers. Give me an O for over. Give me a U for under. You guys let me know your thoughts down below. And we'll see you guys next time. As always, let's go Vikes.